Good afternoon, everybody. As Theo said, my name is Hans, I would say Euser, the Dutch variant of the name Euser. And actually it's a miracle that I stand here before you. Because when I was a teenager, I discriminated people. Especially the Moroccan and the Turkish. There are many of them in the Netherlands, more than 1 million altogether. And I did what my friends did, discriminated. And I did not have good friendship with these people. But something happened. The reason that I stay here before you tonight, or this afternoon, is that Jesus entered my life. In 1996, a guest speaker had a sermon with a very short but beautiful example about a father and a son. And it changed my heart in such a way that the next morning I didn't really know what happened to me. I didn't have the words conversion, or I didn't know all of these words, but I got up early in the morning every day, 6 days a week, 5:30, to deliver newspapers, together with my brother. And on that morning, the next morning after my conversion to Christ, there were some people pushing a car. They had a dark skin, so maybe they're Turkish or Moroccan, and they asked me for help. So I put my bicycle against the wall, and I went to them to help them pushing the car forward, shoulder to shoulder. And my brother asked, "What happened to you?" Well, I really didn't know what happened, but I found out that Jesus changed my heart. And now I love people from all different nationalities and nations. So it's a miracle that I stay here. I'm married to Caroline. We have 3 children, Samuel, Rose and Rode. They are still at home in the Netherlands. We planted a church in 2012. We call it the International or Intercultural Christian Family, where 20 different nationalities attend. And we handed it over to another pastor's couple and a whole team to move from Veendal, where we lived before, to Rotterdam. And now we live in a neighborhood with 75% of people with a non-Dutch background. So we love it. And that's thanks to Jesus. Although English is my second language, so I don't know so many languages as Sarah does. But although it's only my second language, I'm not very fluent in English. To think and speak at once is difficult, so I wrote down my thoughts. It helps especially me, and hopefully also you. I want to share with you what we have learned in the area of intercultural team development. And this is the first time that I stand this way before. I think I have to turn around, but that's no problem. I can handle it. Thank you very much. Okay, I have a PowerPoint, and so you can look for the slide on it. So I want to share with you some of the things we have learned in the area of intercultural team development. And I use the model of Tuckman to structure my thoughts, and I guess it will be helpful for you also. He distinguished 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and he added the last one later on, performing, adjourning. So let's start with the first one, forming. And you will get a handout of this talk afterwards. Yeah? But just writing notes down, it's better to understand it to learn by heart. For me, that's the first step. Bringing the right people together in your team. If you want to plant an intercultural community of faith, as we desire for in 2010, you will need a team. In Veenendaal, Caroline and I faced the challenge to reach 10,000 people with a non-Dutch background of 100 different nationalities. Among them, 6,000 non-Western people. We had no money, no building, no volunteers or people to help. So, what's the first thing that you have to do? After prayer, of course. Build a team. Why is that important? I've learned from my African brothers that there is a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Is that a typical African proverb? Caroline has gifts of prophecy. I have teaching gifts. But if you are on a mission to make disciples from all people, you will need more than these two gifts. Not just as to gifts and talents only, I mean shepherds, apostles, evangelists as well, but you will also need cultural interpreters. People who explain to us how the Middle Eastern, African, Asian people think. Or when you are pastoring as an African in Western culture, you need to have interpreters from a Western perspective to help you understand the culture you're working in. We knew very little about it when we started. So, after we had found two Dutch people who shared the vision, we started looking for foreigners to join our team. And usually we did three things. I'm going to show that they are here and move it. No, just come back. So we did three things. The first thing is praying. As Theo mentioned yesterday, we put our alarm clock at 10 past 10. Is that right? Yeah. Derived from Luke chapter 10 verse 2. That Jesus urges us to pray for laborers, because the harvest is great, big. So the first thing is praying. The next thing is informing. We organized a few evenings for people in Veenendaal doing intercultural work, and we asked them if they knew foreigners who potentially wanted to join our team. So praying, informing, and the third thing was inviting, because several names came up during these information evenings. And we asked them, Alpha from Congo, Reza from Iran, and Beryl from Great Britain. And this is how our diverse team was formed. It consists of 2 women, 4 men from Europe, Africa, the Middle East. One has a Muslim background, another one a Pentecostal background, 2 Baptists, 2 people who were used to baptize infants, with apostolic, prophetic, evangelistic, pastoral and teaching gifts. For 5 years, from 2012 till 2017, we cooperated as a team intensely. And the church was planted that we later called the intercultural Christian family. We formed in the church other teams, children and youth work, music, prayer, PR, and our basic rule was that every team had at least 50% foreign blood. For instance, we aimed for a music team that consisted for 1/2 of the people with a foreign background. And that is important, but there's of danger in it. It's important because you easily can become patronizing. We do something for the foreigners. It's dangerous, and that's what Sarah mentioned this morning. It's dangerous because you can become so focused on the intercultural ideal that you lose sight of other important aspects of leadership. We ended up as major believers or leaders in our team, and that required a lot of energy, especially in the last year. We learned from that. Nowadays we ask 5 questions as a kind of a checklist, and I think it's helpful for you also, to potential leaders. And it's on the next slide. The 5 plus 3 C's. The first question is about calling. Is this person called by the Lord? The second one is about character. Does this person have the character of a mature believer? As Paul writes about it in 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. The third one is chemistry. Does the team experience a connection, a click with this person? The fourth one is a complementary question. Does this person complement the team as to his gifts and his background? And the last one is about competence. Is that person able to provide leadership? And we distinguish 3 elements in the competence part. The first question is about cultural sensitivity. Does that person have a cultural antenna? Is he communicative? So does he speak the language on a certain level? Because in the intercultural Christian fellowship in Veenendaal, we used to speak Dutch together, although everything was translated in different languages during the services. But in our leadership team, we said we want to have someone who speaks the language that we can understand all together. We need a shared language. And the third sub-question was, is he a catalyst? Does this person motivate other people? So that's quite a checklist, and that can raise the question, what if you cannot find enough leaders with a foreign background? What could you do when there aren't as many people that are mature believers, who are complementary to your team, etc.? Well, I suggest 3 things you could work on simultaneously. The first one is form as a team a second ring. A group of people as cultural interpreters. Explain your plans to them. Ask questions. Listen and learn from them. This is how you include that indispensable input in your team considerations. This is for a second ring of people with another cultural background than you have. Then also, secondly, start leadership trainings. I think it's maybe on the next slide, I'm not sure. No, it's not. Okay. So you have to listen. The first one is form a second ring. The second one is start leadership training. Invest in people who have potentials. Let them watch how you and your team are doing. Involve them in small tasks. Let them grow in responsibility. And thirdly, seek outside your own circle. The church in Antioch involved Barnabas from Cyprus. He, in turn, looked for Paul in Tarsus. If you share the vision for an intercultural church plant with people from outside your own community, God can start moving them. So hopefully this is helpful for you in your own context. That's the first part of developing a team, forming, bringing the right people together. We go to the next stage, storming. And storming is about handling conflicts in a cultural, sensitive way. I think it needs no further explanation that an intercultural team will cause difficulties. So, how many of you experienced conflicts in your context and in your teams? I see only 3, 5, 7, 8, 10. Not everybody? I think when you work intensely with people from other cultural backgrounds, you will get in conflict and trouble. In the ICF, we experienced problems of a Corinthian magnitude. We had to deal with Arabs who smoked, and that in front of the church entrance. Something the Africans found horrible. We had a discriminating Syrian who did not accept the leadership of our Congolese brother. There were Iraqi people who divorced and who vilified their wives to such extent that they fled the house. The Africans sometimes were absent in the services just because we had not visited them on time. The Eastern Orthodox thought that the conversion of Muslims to Christ often were not credible. They did not really believe it. The Yemenite, he walked out when one of the women preached. I have seen Iranians almost in a fist fight like this during a Bible study evening. And the Dutch often criticize the foreigners because they adapted very little to our culture. And so as a team, we had to react. We practiced dealing with conflict. We learned to do so in a culturally sensitive way. At first, we saw Matthew 18 as the only and best way to handle conflicts. You see the text here: if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone, etc. Maybe you know this text. Western people like a direct approach. They want to know the truth. Tell me what you think of it, one by one, by being honest and open. In doing so, you imply you can separate the problem from the person. What I tell you, you should not be taken personal. I am telling you this as a friend. However, in many other cultures, this cannot be done in such a way. There, if you criticize somebody's idea, immediately it relates to him as a person. Am I right?
Yes.
Amen. Okay. And you do not want to bring shame to that person. Everything is focused on protecting somebody's honor, somebody's face. So as a team, we have to practice indirect ways of handling conflict. We have to learn them. And I'll give you 3 examples of what we did. When our Congolese brother shared with us that he had problems with the Arabs smoking before the entrance of the church, we did not talk to the Arabs personally, but we moved the cigarette disposal bin to the backside of the church. And everybody understood that smoking in front of the church was not desired. It's the indirect way of handling a conflict between our Congolese brother and these Arabs. Regarding the Africans who stayed away, we found out by using a mediator what was the reason for their absence. We did not ask them a direct question, for that way we would not have found out the reason. They did not want to accuse us, and we did not want to embarrass them. Indirectly, via third person mediator, we found out that they had missed a visit by us. After I heard that in African context, and it was after somebody passed away in the family, and I heard that in an African context, a funeral is as important as a wedding in the Western context. I didn't know that, but we explained it to them and made it by visiting them afterwards. In the Iranian Bible study group, where they were fighting against each other, I told stories. For instance, about a cruise ship that capsized during a storm, an image of our world separating from God. A cruise ship that was capsized during a storm. The captain, Jesus, decided to risk his life and left the ship to save people from drowning. One by one, he brought them back on board in the kingdom of God. But then, the most horrible thing happened. The returned passengers got into quarrels. They argued and even pushed one another over the railing. And my question after this story was that what the captain gave his life for? Of course not everybody agreed. It's a way of handling conflict in an indirect way. By storytelling, using a mediator, and even removing the cigarette disposal bin. The Chinese general Sun Tzu once said, I think that's near on the slide, in all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect methods will be needed to secure victory. And from my experience in ICF, I can fully agree with that. Let's go to the third stage, norming, make clear agreements. Can you still follow me? Because I'm aware that this is maybe your after lunch tip, but you're still in. So the third stage is norming, making clear agreements. After forming and storming, it's important when you develop an intercultural team to make clear agreements. There are varying ideas and expectations in many issues. For instance, about the starting time, or about the question how you come to a decision as a team, or about giving feedback, and about the way in which leadership functions. I want to give only one small example about making minutes of a meeting. So writing down a report of a meeting that you have as a team. But first I have to explain something about cultural differences between high and low cultures. Theo mentioned the book of Erin Meyer, The Culture Map, and she shows this figure in a book about low context and high context. So, in a low context, good communication is precise, simple, and clear. Messages are expressed and understood at face value. Repetition is appreciated if it helps verify the communication. That's a low context culture. And you see at the left side of this figure that the US, Netherlands, Germany, Australia are low context cultures. So they say, tell them what you are going to tell them, then tell them, then tell them what you've told them. Yes? That's an American way of sending a message. And we do that in the Netherlands also. But when you're in a high context, let's say in Iran, China, Japan, Korea, etc., good communication is sophisticated, nuanced, and layered. Messages are both spoken and read between the lines. Messages are often implied, but not plainly expressed. So yes means not always yes. No does not always mean no. My Iranian friend went to a dinner or to a Dutch house, and the people in this Western Dutch house asked him and invited him for dinner. Do you want to have dinner with us? And he said, no, thank you. So the Dutch thought, okay, then we eat together as a couple. And he sat there on the couch, seeing that they were eating, and he was hungry. In the Iranian context, that is tarot. So the first time you say no, the second time you say no, only the third time you agree. So, and as a Dutch guy, you have to show your hospitality, to ask it again and again. No doesn't mean no always. I had a great difficulty understanding the foreigners in my team, especially the Congolese and Iranian brothers. Sometimes I sensed that they held things back, that they did not say what they were thinking. I suspected this. I suspected even my British team member. But the Iranian and Congolese, they saw it differently. They thought the Dutch, as well as the Brits, were rude, too direct, and patronizing. For everything always was repeated and put in writing. But the biggest miscommunication is always between people of too high context cultures. For they both have implicit languages that is being understood within their own culture, yet misinterpreted by the other high cultural context. You can read more about that in the very good book that Theo recommended this afternoon of Erin Meyer. One practical agreement we made was derived from the strategy that she recommends. Multicultural teams need low context processes. That means that among ourselves we discuss why as a team we repeat things and put that in writing. We just agree, I guess. And we keep doing it. Each decision and each action is being written down in a report, not because we want to hold on to Dutch habits, and also not because we distrust one another, but we want to keep things verbal. And this is one way of doing so best. To say it with Erin Meyer, putting it in writing reduces confusion and saves time for multicultural teams. But make sure to explain up front why you are doing this. I have 2 more stages to explain, and I have 2 minutes for that. So, performing is the 4th stage, and it means cultivating the up, in, and out dimensions, as we call it. Maybe you can show the arrow that we use with. We use this plain symbol, which kept reminding us of the direction we wanted to go. This arrow, with the words up, in, and out. So the direction was clear. We wanted to form a home with the people groups within Veenendaal. However, Westerners run the risk that they are too much task-oriented. They are not as relational as Easterners, in part of the arrow, and are less spiritual than many Africans, the up part of the arrow, and you need all of that. So, when you are working together as a team, you need to have time together to connect to God by celebrating the Lord's Supper, by doing Bible study and prayers, fasting. But you also need to work on the in part of the relationship. So you have to have friendships. You have to work on friendship. I played hours and hours with my Iranian team member, tennis, just to connect to him. I wanted to know him. And the best way to do it was to share a sport, to do a sport together. So think about it as a team. Do we have all these parts? So the direction is out, but you need up and in to do it well. And the last thing I would like to say is about a journey, to say goodbye in a good way. Because in Veenendaal, we always saw ourselves as a church planting team that started church, but would not always stay. As Paul, who always stayed someplace temporarily and then moved on. He appointed elders who could build up the churches. And in order to facilitate a good departure, it is wise to do a few things, and I wrote them down on the handout that you will get. I only mentioned the last one: provide your successors enough freedom to take up their place in the community, but also keep in touch with the church. Western people often are like peaches. They say peaches, you know, the fruit peach. Soft on the outside. It's easy to get in contact with them, but hard on the inside. It's harder to develop a deep, lasting relationship. In many other cultures, people look more like coconuts, hard on the outside and soft on the inside. Once you're a part of their community and you belong to the in-group, you won't be excluded just like that. And we experienced that some weeks ago when we visited the ICF church in Veenendaal for the first time in 10 months. The ICF really embraced us. Their love lasts. And we enjoyed it. With that beautiful statement, I close off. Because